Hey everyone, it's Mark here with MainWP, and today I have a return guest. I have Hans Skillrud from Termageddon. He is part of the team, he and Donata, who is the legal expert at Termageddon, and they do all kinds of really cool things and have a really cool add-on for MainWP. First of all, welcome to the show, Hans. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Mark. It's always good to be here chatting with
Or
you.
or welcome to the recording. It's not really a show, it's a recording, but
We'll call
um,
it a show.
we'll call it a show. Why not? I can't believe it's been a year since we talked.
One of those people where I feel like it's just yesterday. We get back on a call and it's like we just continued the dialogue as if a year of life hadn't gone by. So, it's good to catch up, though.
It may be because I talk so much that the conversation just sticks in your head for that long. I hope I'm not taking up too much real estate in your brain.
No, no, no. You do leave memorable impacts on my conversations. It's like before this recording, I shared some personal stuff with Mark, and it was just like it was based on our previous conversations. So, no, you're a good
Yeah,
guy to chat with.
I always enjoy talking to you, and I think often, man, why is that it's been a year? So,
Yeah, for real.
um, but time does go fast. I just wanted to catch up with you again. Of course, we got the holidays coming up, and I'm sure that we'll get into a little bit of Black Friday stuff and all of that. But I wanted to catch up with you because last year when we talked, you were talking about some changes that were coming along, not just in the world of Termageddon, but like in the rules of the laws and that surround privacy and all of
Yeah.
that. And you guys are the experts. I recommend you guys all the time because your plugin is so very, very cool and takes a lot of the brain damage out of the stuff that nobody really wants to do when it comes to their
For sure.
websites. So let's talk about privacy changes both domestically and internationally
Yeah.
because some things have happened in both places.
Throughout 2025, I think we had 8 new or amended privacy laws go into effect. As a reminder for everyone, privacy laws protect people's data. So your name is your name, your email is your email. That's your data. Data is regulated by privacy laws. So when we as website owners are collecting data, we may be required to comply with those laws. And what has happened this year is that we had 8 more laws go into effect. So depending on whose data you're collecting, you may now be required to comply with 8 more laws. It's not that I don't get it. I do get it. Privacy is becoming more and more important. People want a right to their privacy. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. It's just a bit problematic for us as website owners how to like keep up to date with all that stuff. And not to go full sales pitch mode, but a tool like Termageddon is an auto updating policy solution that will monitor privacy laws, keep you up to date when the laws change. And we're built for agencies and their clients. So we give you, 2 free licenses for your own agency website. And then hopefully you have another website you can utilize us for. Our MainWP plugin allows you to embed our codes right onto policy pages and then be notified when laws are being updated and policies are being updated. But you can also make a recurring revenue stream offering our solution to your clients. So you get a free license for your own website. You get 2. If you go to termageddon.com/mainwp, you get 2 free licenses and then the ability to resell or refer our solution. I share all that to then go into why that's more important now than ever before, which is in last year's interview, I think we talked about those SIPA lawsuits that were targeting website owners all over the U.S. Since we last chatted, a bill was proposed in California to stop that from happening. These ambulance chasing, opportunistic demand letters asking for 40 grand from a single person website owner for non-compliance with SIPA. Well, unfortunately, that bill got denied. So the SIPA lawsuits continue. I continue getting more and more calls and inquiries every week from customers. They weren't my customer at the time, but they become our customer afterwards. People coming to us saying, hey, I got a demand letter asking for 50K in damages because I used Google Analytics and didn't have a proper consent solution, or I used Facebook Pixel, Metapixel, or LinkedIn Tag, or live chat features. And all I can say is that like privacy is becoming a bigger deal. Our industry is becoming more and more regulated. I really encourage people who oversee websites to not stick your head in the sand like I used to for many, many years. I think we all did for sure. But the industry is getting regulated, and like we have an opportunity to embrace this stuff, maybe even make a little recurring revenue while helping our clients become educated on the topic so that they can make, whatever decisions important for them. So
I'd actually like to go back a second here and dig it. You brought up Google Analytics, and I think that there's a lot of confusion as to why Google Analytics causes such a big privacy concern. I think like at a very high level, people understand that it does, but then there's also kind of like this, you hear people say, well, then why is it that I can throw in a Google Analytics plugin on my website and start collecting the data and having that, available to me if privacy is such a concern and if there are these lawsuits going on. So what is it that makes Google Analytics in particular, so when everybody
Mhm.
likes to demonize and everyone likes to, like to bring, why is it that that one causes people so many problems? And I imagine that's like the first thing that ambulance chasers go for because it is such a big,
Low-hanging fruit.
yeah, it's very
Yeah.
low hanging fruit. Yeah.
Yeah, so Google Analytics, I think, gets a bad rap. Unfortunately, I have mixed feelings about it. First, I love Google. I've used Google products all the time. Like, I love Google Analytics, but Google Analytics is a tracking technology, and I should put an asterisk on that because Google says it's not a tracking technology. But either way, as it's defined, like currently, when someone visits a website and you have Google Analytics embedded, technically you're sharing data with Google in order for Google to then track that user and understand how they use your website. There's so many asterisks in this, like Google has Google consent mode where people can deny and all that stuff. But the vast majority of website owners that I've met, they install their Google Analytics code and they don't think anything else of it. Many of them don't even go to their dashboard to look at their analytics report. Well, yeah, that's a free plugin. That's a free script you add to your website. But let's be real, when things are free, that means you are the product.
You're the product. Yeah. Yeah.
So Google has implemented many free things that have allowed us website owners to run great websites, learn how people use our websites. Google Maps, YouTube video embeds, these are all great things, but they are all good examples where we're taking data and sharing it with Google. And that is what is getting website owners into trouble because SIPA, the California Invasion of Privacy Act, you know what? Let me take a step back. Please note everything I share is not legal advice today. I'm just providing this for informational purposes only. My inner wife is coming out right now. Like, I can hear Nada yelling at me.
Yeah.
But SIPA, the California Invasion of Privacy Act, was a law that was intended to prevent third parties from eavesdropping on phone calls from Californians. Actually, a pretty good law, like in my opinion. Like, hey, if you're on a phone call as a Californian, it's illegal for any third party to be like silently listening to that conversation. Like, not a bad law at all. But unfortunately, that law has been reinterpreted to apply to website owners as well, because websites are considered a communication. That's what's defined in the law of SIPA, what a communication is. Well, we as website owners have tons of third-party tracking technologies. Analytics is just one aspect of it. There's also like pixels, tracking advertising pixels. Google Ads, Meta Pixel, LinkedIn tags. These are all examples where we're tracking users to send them like relevant advertisements. There's also live chat features that will track which page you're on so that you can provide good live chat support. The list goes on and on about simple tools that we've implemented, many of them free, that are tracking users and sharing data with third parties. Well, under SIPA, that's illegal because you need to get consent first. And that's why probably you, Mark, living in California, see a lot of cookie consent banners when you
Oh
visit
yeah.
websites. So California also has CPRA, otherwise known as CCPA, but it's actually CPRA. That actually has a cookie consent law, but that law only applies to bigger businesses. What applies to tiny businesses, not even businesses, just website owners in general. And that can apply to any website owner. It doesn't matter where you, the business owner, website owner is located. What matters is, are you collecting data from Californians? So that law has given attorneys the ability to sue website owners or, ultimately lead to going to court. The reality is what I think these attorneys are doing is they're just going down a list of websites, submitting lawsuit after lawsuit, or sorry, demand letter after demand letter after demand letter. And then these innocent website owners are just getting a letter in the mail saying, hey, I visited your website, or my client visited your website. They are so offended that how could you possibly use Google Analytics, without giving their consent first? They're so hurt that they need $50,000 to overcome this obstacle you put in their way.
Mm-hmm.
And then you find yourself settling for 5K, not including attorney's fees, and and the rest is history. And then the attorney goes on to the next 200 people to submit the demand letters. So it's a real nasty business. It's not fun. This is where I always like to just say, like, yeah, this stuff is annoying. I think a lot of website owners are like, gosh, yeah, one more thing to deal with. And that's true. It is one more thing to deal with. But there are a lot of solutions out there that are trying to make this as easy as possible to get set up with respecting the rights of your website visitors and continuing to run your business.
I hear you saying is Google Analytics is not inherently bad.
No.
You can set up your website to include Google Analytics, but you just have to make sure that it is set up so that you're getting the proper consents ahead of time before you start collecting the data.
Yeah.
Which I think is absolutely a step that everybody overlooks. And I will throw myself right there in that ring where it's like, oh, look, I can just install this plugin, and boom, Bob's your uncle. I got everything that I need. I definitely understand that, and of course that's why at MainWP we are very, very careful about all of that stuff. And Donata has been very helpful with
No, that's
with
great.
guiding us on that. I am going to do a little bit of a plug for the extensibility of MainWP here, which is that we do have an add-on that was made by Independent Analytics
Oh, excellent.
that works within the MainWP ecosystem. And we've actually interviewed them before too. They're fantastic people. And
They are.
if I understand the architecture correctly, that data that Independent Analytics brings in is all stored locally, or stored itself, basically self-hosted. So that means that data is not going anywhere else. And of course, yeah, we do run the risk of, if we're sending data to Google, we have no control over what Google does with that data,
Correct.
or we don't know. And I think
Yeah.
that's, if I understand correctly, that's really where our big risk is.
That is because
Yes.
basically SIPA prevents you from having third-party eavesdroppers listening and tracking without your knowledge. So what do? You bring that knowledge to the forefront, you get that consent, and then you let Google Analytics fire and then track that user. But where I stand, use a product like Independent Analytics. Like, it's a privacy-friendly tool. Yes, it costs money because your website visitors are no longer a product of Google, who they sell to advertisers. So yeah, no, I can't recommend enough using a privacy-focused alternative, because now you don't even need consent, and now you're getting analytics on all site visitors. I could be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure Independent Analytics doesn't even track users. They just count page sessions, or I know that they've taken privacy into account with their product.
Yeah, they're very privacy focused, but I know that they seem to be constantly be working to collect or to add more data, but they're starting with a privacy first mentality, and then, okay, what data can we collect based on a privacy first philosophy?
Great.
That's why they fit in so well with like what we do and what you do. And I don't know if you know the guys over there. I'm sure you've run into them.
We've had one call so far together.
Yeah. So they're pretty awesome.
Great people.
Yeah. So you talked about there's 8 new laws. Are those all international law? Are those all domestic?
I believe they are all US based this year, but last year there was amendments, or there was Quebec Law 25, which was Canada province, or territory or province, I always mix those up. But that area went into effect, Quebec Law 25. And right now, Australia Privacy Act of 1988 is being considered for changes, as well as the UK Data Protection Act. And then the big one was the Digital Markets Act, which was from the EU, which only applies to big companies like Google and Facebook and stuff. But basically, Google and Facebook will be fined by the EU when their own customers, aka website owners, are not properly getting consent from their visitors. So let's take that in. Let's restate that again, because this is a big concept. Like, if you're using Google Tag Manager and you're using it incorrectly without getting proper consent, Google is at risk of being fined by the EU. A lot of website owners, for example, are getting notified you need to set up consent mode in your Google Tag Manager account and stuff. So now major companies like Facebook for Facebook Pixel and Google for all the Google suite of products, they're pushing more and more of their customers. I mean, it's so clear with people coming to us being like, Google told me I need this, what should I do? And we show them how to get it all set up.
Yeah. But then I'm sure there's a contingent of people who don't mind Google getting fined either. So
for sure, but they risk their account being terminated. But yeah,
right, sure, yeah.
There probably is a loophole somewhere in there, like more tax benefits for everyone,
And I'm sure that Google already has attorneys figuring out all the loopholes, because that's what they do. So this is an EU law. But once again, if you're an American website and you're doing any business in EU, it still impacts you.
That's right. Yeah, if you offer goods or services to residents of the EU, and or you monitor the behavior of residents of the EU. What's monitoring the behavior? That's tracking. The EU's GDPR is a very broad-reaching privacy law, just like all other privacy laws. It doesn't matter where you, the business owner, is located. What matters is whose data are you collecting, because it's their data that's protected. And that's when you have to comply potentially with laws outside of your specific location.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, obviously, but I'm not sure everybody thinks about that.
No, it took me 6 months to digest that statement. And then another 2 years to figure out how to articulate that, and I'm still it's still a work in progress.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I do think that if you take that approach with everything, basically sitting in the customer's shoes or, in the receiving end, in the shoes of that with anything, I think that you're always better off anyway. So whether it's
Yeah,
like
well
UX
said.
changes or privacy laws, you can call it empathy, call it what you want, but just putting yourself in their shoes and stop thinking about where you're at and think about where they're at. I think it would
Yeah.
probably resolve a lot of issues.
I mean, who among us love receiving text message spam or phone call spam? Who among us likes that? I personally like relevant ads delivered to me. Like, okay, if I
Yeah,
visit a site,
yeah,
I like relevant ads.
yeah,
But I've been a little bit taken back. Oh boy, I forgot that I visited that site, and now they're throwing me ads and stuff. Like,
yeah,
all I can say is like privacy is becoming more important. It's not becoming less important. And like I feel like we all want a reasonable right to privacy. So like why not fight for this a little bit and respect your own customers, your own potential customers'
yeah, yeah.
privacy rights, by setting up proper measures for your website.
Yeah. Well, and what I appreciate about talking to you, by the way, Hans, is that you present things in a very practical manner and you don't go about it with like fear-based tactics. You don't say, if you do this, this is absolutely going to happen, despite the name of the company. There's no Armageddon for
Which
your
was meant to be
website.
fun.
I
It was
know,
meant to be
right,
funny.
right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, yeah. But
Like, things escalated quickly
yeah,
several years later. Like, but
yeah, yeah. I still love the name. If I were in that business, that's the name I would have chosen too.
quick side note, it's been the ultimate filter because I feel like anyone who's like, I'm super serious and I don't mesh well with people like that are overly serious or, so I feel like it's been the perfect filter, like filtering out people I don't want to work with. Like anyone
Right,
who's willing to
right.
trust their policies with a company called Termageddon, like I already
Exactly.
know I get along
Yeah.
with them great. So
Yeah, since we're on a side note, I think that we all kind of get to that age where it's like, if I don't click with the people that I'm dealing with, I know that what I have is serious. I know what I have is practical and useful. If you can't look past the messenger because you don't like the personality to see the actual benefit to you, then
mm,
I wouldn't want to work with that person either. Every once in a while, when I am foolish enough to take up a consulting gig somewhere, I will start out. First thing I will say to them is, if we don't like each other, I'm okay with that. We don't have to work together. I mean, I've actually gotten to that point, and of course, that turns them into wanting to work with me because
more, yeah.
they want to prove to them that we'll get along, which works for me. But anyway, let's get around talking about Termageddon a bit. I'm sure there's a lot to talk about with those 8 privacy laws. And I kind of suspect that your lovely counterpart would probably be the one who would be able to speak best to that. And before we get into Termageddon, I'd like you to remind everyone of who your wife is,
Yeah.
how absolutely brilliant she is. And I'm saying that, and I'm not married to her, so because I expect you to say all the things, but what her experience is and why she's as good as she is at what she does.
Yeah. Donata is co-founder and president of Termageddon. She runs the show over here. Great president. She is a licensed attorney with a focus on privacy. She's been highly involved in the nonprofit world, especially with the American Bar Association. She was recently elected to be their representative to the United Nations to help write privacy laws for various countries. She has been quite instrumental in helping advocate for real privacy rights, not the BS privacy laws, which I'll go into, but like fighting for real privacy rights for people. She's done quite well, obviously with her nonprofit work, but also with building Termageddon. So, she single-handedly did the legal engineering for over 130 privacy laws, rules, and regulations. It's about 5x more than any other solution on the planet. And I think that speaks to just being an attorney-founded policy solution. We're a tool, we're not a legal service provider, but since we have an attorney-founded solution, that's been at the heart of wanting to do what we want to do, which is build the best-in-class policy generator on the planet. And yeah, to say the least, couldn't do it without her. She is the brains of the operations, clearly the smart one. And yeah, she's been certainly busy this year with the 8 US privacy laws. The ones that went into effect this year was unique in the sense that I believe it's this year that all 8 were US state laws that only apply to businesses of larger sizes. If you make 25 million or more a year in revenue, if you collect the personal information of more than 10,000 or more residents of a state in a year. Various factors for those laws to apply. But yeah, starting at the time of this recording, 55 days, we have two more US laws going into effect. One of them applies to small business owners. And I think that speaks to just like what's going on here is like, how would I have known that I needed to comply with, Colorado's most recent law that went into effect or Texas's most recent law? Like, how do I even know if I need to provide disclosures under that? And I guess that's good leeway into what Termageddon's all about. Like, our solution, it's $119 a year. You get all the policies and consents you need for a website. And what our tool does is we first and foremost figure out what laws apply because that dictates absolutely everything. I am still shocked to this day that we are the only company doing that. I just don't get it. But yeah, find out the laws that apply because that determines everything else. And our questionnaire will adapt, ask the questions, and make the necessary disclosures under those laws. And then what our tool does is we provide you little embed codes that you copy and paste into your privacy policy page. You copy and paste into your terms page and so forth. And now by embedding our codes, when people visit your website policies, they'll see it right on your own website, but we control what that copy says so that when January 1st comes around, we can notify you by email what's happening and then just push those new disclosures right to your policy pages via our embed codes. So really with Termageddon, we're not just a means to get comprehensive policies compatible with today's laws. The real value, in my opinion, is like, oh, I now have a strategy in place to keep this up to date over time. So that's like really our pitch to the world. But like where my passion comes in is, I ran a 12-person web design agency and software development company in downtown Chicago. I used to copy and paste privacy policies for my clients whenever they would ask me to. I just happened to marry a privacy attorney, so my outlook changed a little bit. But anyways, I share that all to say I built Termageddon from a business model standpoint for agencies. That's where I come from. That's the industry I know. And that's how we built our new dashboard. Well, and our former dashboard, but this year we launched our new dashboard and it's awesome. I'm biased in that opinion. But anyways, we built Termageddon for agencies. So we have an agency partner program. If you go to termageddon.com/MainWP, we typically give away one free license to agency applicants, but for all MainWP members, we give away two. That's free forever, 2 sets of auto updating policies for 2 websites. And our only ask is that if you like what you see, you consider our reseller or our affiliate programs to offer the solution to your own clients if they ever ask you what they should do. So with Termageddon, clients get protected, agencies make more recurring revenue. I like to think it's a win-win-win across the board.
And I will say, having personally used it, to me, once you go through that initial questionnaire of what your business is about and all of that, which I don't know, it took me like 10 or 15 minutes. It's not really a huge time investment. But what I love about it is I almost never have to think about it again for that site.
Yeah.
I remember we had this conversation last year, and I'm going to put it out there again, which I'm sure you might do anyway. But the way that you presented it to me is, this is a good place to start. Termageddon is a good place to start. It is not 100% legal advice, or it's advice, but it's not. You need to go to your attorney and make sure that everything is good, but it gives you that good starting point so that you're not paying your attorney a bajillion dollars. You're having them look at it. Chances are they're going to look at it and say everything's fine, or they might want you to change one thing, but you're going to pay for an hour's worth of time as opposed to 3 or 4 or 5 hours. Is that pretty much how you recommend still the workflow on that?
Oh, for sure. I'll always say if you have the funds to afford an attorney to draft them from scratch and monitor privacy laws and keep up to date with all that stuff, of course go that route. If you have the funds to do that, nothing beats having someone provide you with legal advice. But if you're a small business owner and you don't have that, 10 grand a year laying around for such a luxury, Termageddon is a great plan B. And when you pair it with an attorney, oh my gosh, that even takes it further. Termageddon, we even have a law firm partner program. We're very law firm friendly. Attorneys have full customization abilities. You can even share your license with your attorney so that they get notified when new laws change that impact business. Can't tell you how many attorneys have come to us saying, I wrote privacy policies for my clients. I didn't know I had to keep them up to date. And we sent them an email about a new law, and then one thing leads to another, and then they're just leveraging our software for their own clients. So if you're like, hey, I want that legal advice aspect, generate your policies with Termageddon, send it over to your attorney for a quick review. They may change some things. Great. Just copy and paste the changes. And now you have the strategy in place to keep up to date. You've got the legal advice from your attorney, and you did it at a fraction of the cost. I would say, Martha, I think that's the most ideal route. And then the second most ideal route is go through the generator and just get everything set up.
Yeah,
Doing nothing, is where you don't want to find yourself at. So,
well, you're right. We were talking about the ambulance chaser, low-hanging fruit people, and I sort of suspect that it starts with they look and say, do they have a privacy and terms and conditions page? Oh, they do. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. So
yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say don't have anything under those pages, but I think that they're interested in not spending a lot of time to go through your terms and conditions for you. So
Yes.
if you have terms and conditions up and they see that they're generated and they're all covering all the laws and everything, they're not going to look for a word that's out of place or anything like that. That's not what their job is. Their job is to find the people that they can go after really easily and intimidate, I think, is kind of what it feels like.
I think the number's like 250,000 websites launch every day. I think that's like the last
Holy
stat I
moly.
saw.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, okay, that's gonna be a nice pipeline for them to keep suing people
Yeah,
for a long
yeah,
time. Where
yeah.
there's gonna be a lot of low-hanging fruit for a long time. And I think of it the same way, but in general too, it's like it comes back to like, just have this stuff up to respect your website visitors' privacy rights. Addressing privacy just in general is just a win across the board for everyone
Yeah,
involved.
yeah, yeah. I've spoken with a lot of agency owners that use Termageddon. I have yet to hear a single person say that it's not the best thing since sliced bread as far as
That's
that
awesome.
goes. I really have never heard anyone complain about it. That's pretty good. I mean, to have a
That's pretty
plugin,
cool.
that no one complains about. I mean, I'm sure
Uh,
you get an email or two, in customer support where something's not working quite the way they want it, but that's
I think we formed a slight cult. Like I was not
yeah.
expecting people to like really bite off. Our partners like have a lot of pride about using Termageddon, and that just it warms my heart. Like I mean, I created this with my wife, and we called the thing Termageddon 10 years ago. Like
Yeah, yeah,
we weren't expecting
yeah,
much,
yeah,
and like
yeah.
we just have been adopted by the industry, and it just means the world to us. And yeah, my strategy is treat people like humans, and like if they give you feedback, like work on that feedback, and if they need help, help them, and treat them not like a number but a human. And so far, that strategy has been crushing it. So
Well, well, I mean, I think you and I agree on like from a marketing standpoint, if we want to get in a little bit of marketing, I think that in the world of digital connections like we have right now, people really do crave that human connection.
yes,
And that is certainly something that I think that we share in that at MainWP. It's the same thing. We've created fans, a mini cult, as you like to say, uh,
yeah,
because of the fact that we show our human side and people want to connect with that. I mean, personally, I want to connect with the people who use our product because it only benefits everybody. Once
everyone.
again, everyone wins.
Uh,
And it's really awesome when you can build a community like that, but that's because it is not a one-way thing. It is symbiotic. We grow together, we share each other's frustrations and excitement and all of that, all the things that AI can't quite emulate yet, that
yeah,
humans that are uniquely human. And I think that that's what goes to help build a company for sure,
yeah.
and loyalty too, for that matter.
Yeah, one of the things a decent amount is like someone will reach out initially to us with a kind of like a rude, like kind of like, hey, whatever it may be. And then granted, this is a small fraction, but the ones who are rude kind of stick out to you, at least for me, they
Oh,
do.
sure. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I
Yeah,
shouldn't be that person, but I am.
yeah,
But like, and then the moment I reply and I'm just like normal, I'm not like, hello, name, thank you, so, like, thank you for
yeah,
your ticket.
yeah,
I
yeah,
care deeply about your ticket. Like, once
yeah.
I was like real, like with them like instantly they change. And so like what I remind staff is like when we get someone who sends an initial inquiry and they're rude, just remember that this is a reflection on their experience working with previous companies and their previous
Right,
experiences working in support. And like you literally will be able to see them change their outlook and
right,
perspective on everything if you just be a
right.
human back to them and like talk to them for real, like as if they're right in
Yeah,
front of you. Like 99% of them night and day, they just flip like, thank you so much. This was so helpful. Oh my gosh. And they
yeah,
tend to feel pretty bad with the initial inquiry they submitted.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
weren't expecting a real person on the other end to treat them with respect. It's just so wild to me that treating people with respect is like a competitive advantage we have.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
this just it's
yeah,
so sad.
it
Like
is funny. You always hear that writing is not necessarily the best form of communication because,
mm,
of how things can be taken. Several years ago, I actually did a WordCamp presentation where I talked about that. And I said, that's actually not true. You can look at an email where someone's being rude, and if you actually read in between the lines, you can see where their pain points are and you can see where the pressures are coming from. And once you realize it has nothing to do with you in the first place, and it has to do with pressures of, say, for instance, their client who's yelling at them, and
mm,
it's no different if you look at relationship counseling where they say if your partner is yelling at you, the first question you might want to ask is, are you just venting or do you want a solution here? Because we all want to go straight for the solution. And it's the same kind of thing. Sometimes it's just people venting and you happen to be
Mhm.
the recipient of that venting.
Crosshairs. Yeah.
And yeah, and once you recognize that and can read between the lines and say, okay, but what's the message here? And you start like addressing their pain points
Hmm.
from that message, it turns people around and then they become customers for life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. Like when you turn them, those tend to be some of the best
Right.
conversations. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
good stuff.
I still have a story from when I was at ServerPress where something like that happened, and I was in Toys R Us buying stuff for my kids. It was a Sunday, and I got this nasty email from a customer. Of course, emotionally at first you react a certain way, but
Uh-huh.
it is like someone calling your baby ugly, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah. Yeah. For
so
sure.
so it's a little bit hard. But then when you realize that it has nothing to do with you in the first place, then you can move on to the solution. And like you said, treating people with respect, you start from there. What's the respectful way to respond here? You can still be firm but respectful. You don't
Yes, I completely agree.
there's no like lying over and letting them kick you, but
Hmm.
you can be firm, respectful, and solution oriented, and that's really all they're looking for anyway, is a solution. So let's go back to Termageddon. You said there's a new dashboard this year,
Yes.
and I'd like to hear more about what changes have happened with Termageddon between last year and this year and where the improvements are.
We started 10 years ago, and over the years, we got feedback from partners. And typically, we would just go right in and push the update on what they wanted to see. If we, agreed with them, we tend to agree with most pieces of feedback we get. But then we started thinking, okay, what are our plans for the future with Termageddon? Like, where do we see us going? I can't speak too much to all of that, but long story short, we put together some core pieces of feedback, which were like, boy, we'd really have to change up some stuff to make that happen. But boy, do I like how that sounds. So, long story short, since we last chatted, we released a 3 year long project, 116,000 lines of code, not a single line written by AI, all human made. We deployed our new dashboard. Our dashboard is a major UI improvement, and we streamlined the flow of generating policies. We've noticed that customers are generating policies in a fraction of the time of what it used to take them, which is great to see, and more features like shareable links. Like one big thing we push to agency partners is sharing access with your client. Like, don't be the one holding all the keys to the castle. You can share access with your client. Yes, they probably won't look at their policies every day, but sharing access ensures we can email them directly when laws impact them, and a handful of other features. A major overhaul of our design, completely based on what our partners have provided us over the years. We just had to basically rebuild the whole thing to support it. So
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and it's always hard to like build something while you have X number of customers. It's one thing when you're building from scratch and you don't have any customers, but when you do have customers, there's a lot to balance there.
we called it the Great Migration. So
Uh,
after we released the new dashboard, we were like, okay, well, how do we get 50,000 clients and policies moved over to the new
yeah,
system? So we called it
yeah,
the Great Migration, like the
yeah.
National Geographic document
Right.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And it went well.
But we got it
Um,
done, and it's nice and stable now. So life is good. So
well, cool. I think we should wrap it up with two things. One, is there anything else you want to talk about with Termageddon or the laws? And two, talk to me really quickly about your Black Friday special and
good call.
holiday stuff going on.
With regard to Termageddon and privacy, I would say the last thing I want to share is you don't need Termageddon. Like we are just one solution. There's other solutions out there, and I'll be the first to say nothing beats hiring an attorney. The
You
one
need
place
Termageddon. I disagree.
no, the one thing I do push though, and I just believe in it so much, is don't be the agency who thinks that this is not a big deal. Don't be the agency who's like, my clients are too small, they don't have to worry about this. Like, I have had one too many phone calls with agency owners who are coming to me after they have a client getting a demand letter for 50K, and I promise you it is not a good situation for the agency nor the client. Educate clients about privacy, let them know it's their responsibility to comply with laws, and offer them some ways in which they can address it. Don't be the one to be like, my clients are too small, because what you just did there, you made a legal decision for your client. You chose not to tell them about these legal requirements because you thought that they didn't need it. That's legal advice. Like, don't do that. For what it's worth, Termageddon, we give away free education so you can educate your clients. You don't have to recommend Termageddon. That's my 2 cents on it. Education is the key to the future when it comes to dealing with these regulations. Don't put yourself in a box tasks where now you're finding yourself to be in trouble. And then Black Friday. Yeah, Black Friday, we got a couple of deals. Right now we have a send your own Black Friday special. So we put together like a promotion where our agency partners got like a little pre-written email they can send to their customers on Black Friday and Cyber Monday, offering Termageddon at a discount. And whether you're reselling Termageddon or doing the affiliate program, we can support it both ways. And then we have a 15 pack of licenses, $338 a year. You can resell each one at $120 a year. So partners should be making just about
Wow, nice.
$1,800 a year.
Yeah,
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 for every
nice.
$338 per year purchase. As agency partners, they can buy licenses one at a time at wholesale. So you can always buy one at a time at wholesale, but we have a 15 pack with even steeper discounts.
That sale is going on from when to when?
Yeah, so technically it's available right now. You do have to join as an agency partner. Like, when you apply, we review your website. Yes, a real human does actually review your website and send you a custom welcome message if you're approved. Assuming you get approved, yeah, and MainWP users, partners, agencies get approved. Like, that's no problem.
Yeah,
You always have the best clients. So like, and I'm serious with that.
Awesome.
It's great.
That's awesome. That's good to hear.
You send us awesome partners.
We think we have the best clients too. So
yeah, you do. So yeah, so just apply termageddon.com/MainWP and then you'll get access to the 15 pack. But then yeah, during actual Black Friday and Cyber Monday, we have like extra bells and whistles and stuff going on. So
okay, cool. Well, make sure to let us know and I'll get it in the newsletter. So,
awesome.
Well, if that's it, I hope it's not another year before I talk to you again.
It better not be. No.
Yeah.
WordCamp US or EU. Hopefully we get to cross paths or something.
Yeah, maybe. This year has not been a good year for traveling for me. But,
me neither.
Yeah. But yeah, so I look forward to talking to you again, and maybe we can catch up soon after the new year. And if there's ever any new laws or anything that you want to talk about, just hit me up. We'll do another one of these. I love doing these. So yeah, happy to talk about it and get the information out to the customers.
Awesome, Mark. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you very much, Hans.
Bye, everyone.